And the quotes in Sports Illustrated, if they were uttered by anybody in this draft, not named Trevor Lawrence, without a doubt, would give many people pause. Like his head high school coach saying, well, he could quit football now and that's no big deal. And he's got nothing to prove, according to Trevor Lawrence. If it was attributed to Justin Fields, there would be 5 alarm fires in every single spot and the talent evaluation community and then the media on top of it. If Josh Rosen had said those things just a couple of years ago, same deal. So, what does make Trevor Lawrence tick? And all of that and the conversations that have come out of the piece in Sports Illustrated, written by Michael Rosenberg, who joins us here right now. How are you, sir?
I am great. Greetings from a little town called Ann Arbor, Michigan. I think you're familiar with.
Look at you. So, that is pretty cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. How did you get to know Trevor Lawrence or cross paths with him, or when did you first do that to gain the trust for the access that you received in this piece, Michael?
It was an ongoing discussion with the agency, which is how this usually goes, and just kind of I didn't really know where the story was going until I started talking to people. I didn't know a ton about him for someone who's been in the spotlight that long, and it was kind of weird because I was listening to the tape of the interview, and I swear my first question was about this very topic of you don't seem like you've got that chip on your shoulder. So I don't even remember. It might have been his parents or his high school coach who had said something that said that, but I thought what was telling to me was that he didn't mind. I said to him, I was like, people are going to take this the wrong way. He's like, yeah, I know. I don't really care. And I told him what the story would be, and he was fine with it. So I didn't really know how people would react. I'm not sure how Urban Meyer would react, but he is who he is, and he's pretty comfortable with it.
So how long did you spend with him? How often? What'd you do?
Well, we did the photo shoot and a video, and then it was about an hour interview and a couple of questions that I asked him later on with that, and I talked to his parents and his brother for a while. His brother I could have just kept talking to for weeks, I would say. He was a lot of fun. And it just went back and forth until, when you do a story like this, it's not about it's just about trying to kind of portray people as they are. And if they're comfortable with how they are, then usually everybody is kind of pleased with the result. And I have not heard back, but I felt like I portrayed him as he was.
Okay, and so who is he?
He is just somebody who loves football, has always loved every aspect of it, and is not motivated by anger. He's not motivated by insecurity, by fear. He just likes playing. And I think for anyone who's kind of successful in their career, for most of us that feel like we've been successful, you have that stretch, I'd say, when you're starting out where you might see enemies all over the place. And eventually you get to this place where you're like, you know what, I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with who I am. And it kind of becomes process over result. And I just think Trevor Lawrence, for whatever reason, got to that place about 10 years before most other people do, which I think is refreshing. Now, what that bodes for his NFL career 10 years down the road, nobody really knows. And I kind of raised that question in the piece. If he's had several concussions and broken bones and it hurts to get up in the morning, is he going to say my life would be better off without football? I mean, I think he's more likely to say that than someone who says they live and die with it and can't imagine life without it. But I don't assume that will happen either. I would just have to see.
Michael Rosenberg, senior writer of Sports Illustrated here on the Rich Eisen Show. And that's part of this whole deal with the talent evaluation portion of the NFL calendar, as I've seen it over the years, 2 decades damn now. And the hand-wringing, could he be the next Andrew Luck? Does he really even love football? All of that, like the conversations that you hear when it involves wide receivers, linebackers, corners, tackles, who are just like, well, they're smart. They're into other things than football. Can we really trust that guy who's going to stick with the program for 5-10 years for that evaluation? And it just drives me nuts. So now here's somebody who's like, yeah, I'm not motivated by having to prove anything. And, high school coach, football is important to him, but it's not the end of everything. It's refreshing to hear, but the fact that there's no blowback is because why? What we've seen over the last several years from Clemson, right, Michael?
Yes, exactly. There are not questions about his ability to play, and that's why he can kind of say this and not worry that he's going to, end up being the 25th pick instead of the first pick.
Right.
He's too good, so he can say it. And I think he'll never say that, but obviously he knows that. He knows what he's done. He knows where he's going. He knows the power, I guess, that he has over his own career. And when you have that kind of power, you almost don't have to exercise it. You can just kind of let it sit there and everybody knows. And that was the sense I got from him is, he's not worried about it because whatever anyone says about this is not going to affect his career.
So how do you think, gleaned from just makeup and the conversation that you had, how do you think he is going to handle losing, especially since he's got a head coach who's not used to it either? How do you think that's going to work, Michael?
Well, it's weird. He has never lost, really. I mean, going back to high school, which is, I know that's true of a number of guys that go to top programs, but it's kind of extreme in his case. And yet, when I talked to him about the occasions when he did lose, and you could really kind of go over every single game in the last 7 years because there just weren't that many losses, he's kind of okay by the time his head hits the pillow that night. I think that's sort of the being at peace with himself. He kind of, it's weird. He said he really believes they're going to win all the way to the end of the game, and then sometimes looks back, as with the playoff game this year, and thinks, well, obviously that was over before I thought it was, but he still kind of believes. And then when it ends, he's okay, knowing he'd put everything into it. So I wouldn't worry about how Trevor Lawrence is going to handle losing. I would definitely worry about how Urban Meyer is going to handle losing. And I think Urban Meyer knows that, and he's worried about that, but I think Trevor is going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing that, that leaps out at you with anything remotely close to a red flag at all. So basically what Jacksonville's getting is a supremely gifted individual who doesn't take anything personally off the field to his personal life and focuses like a champ when it comes time to be a professional. Is that really what the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to get, Michael?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're getting. I think they're getting somebody who's coming in with probably the ability and the maturity of somebody who's been in the league for 5 or 10 years. And that's a hard thing to find, obviously, and everybody knows about how good he is. So the big thing for Jacksonville, I think as it relates to comments in these stories, but also just as it relates to on the field, it's the same thing. You got to protect your quarterback, right? And don't let him be in that position Andrew Luck was in, where he's saying, I have just had my body destroyed. This isn't worth it anymore. I mean, it's going to happen to some degree because it's football, but just protect him. Be happy you got him. Be happy that I'm not going to mention the team because it'll hurt your feelings. Didn't end up with the number 1 pick, and see how far you can take this ride.
What about the sense that if that team that you just said shall not be mentioned had gotten him, the sense was that he in New York wouldn't have been a great fit? Did you get any sense of that at all?
I don't really understand. That confuses me a little, because then there are guys that go to New York, as we know, who enjoy it a little too much, right? And they're on the back page all the time, and they're on page 6, and it's an issue. So now you've got a guy who's, 21, just got married, doesn't have the most active social life, just loves football and getting along with people. I don't understand. To me, that's somebody who can handle New York. I don't know if he would love it. I think he would figure it out. I mean, I don't think that would have been as big an issue. To me, the guys that are going to be in trouble there, I look at Baker Mayfield. Can you imagine with all the comments he's made, that relationship with the media, and he's obviously had some issues in Cleveland, how that would go in New York? Like, that's the kind of person that, to me, would struggle in New York, even though he would say he loves it. I think someone like Trevor Lawrence, who doesn't need that spotlight, actually would do quite well there.
I mean, Jets fans would have bought stuff off his wedding registry like the Jacksonville fans have done. I mean, they would have done that.
I love how he registered, as though he cannot afford new sheets.
Well, I mean, that's just a normal thing for people to do. You know what I mean? Like let's just be normal. That's what people who get married. It's certainly when you're age 21. I know that not 21-year-olds aren't about to go hit it in terms of a massive guaranteed contract with huge potential 9-figure, if not 10, if it all goes right, earning potential. But it seems like, from what your piece is, and just seems like a normal dude who's going to Duval County, and it's going to be the hopes of a fan base that's fervent in their love for the team. And he'll become an international star too, man, because as you know, Jacksonville has got a large footprint in London with their owner in those international games. No doubt about it. like it's a good spot for him, it seems.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think, again, it's in the story, but I don't think he was too caught up with where he was going. I don't think he's too caught up in all that stuff. And, the other part of this, I mean, he's going to change. I mean, everybody changes over time. And what form that takes, I can't really say. But I would be more comfortable taking him than a lot of the guys that you see come in that have all these other issues or unresolved insecurities and all these things. I mean, I feel like it's about as close to a sure thing as you can get, personality-wise, as Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I just remember, I think I might have learned it right there in that city, Michael Rosenberg, Sports Illustrated's Michael Rosenberg, a couple minutes left with him. I might have learned it in that city that you're calling me from, Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I was taught when you're writing something, it's usually too long, and you need to cut something down, and the first thing you should look for is something that you think is so crucial to the piece, or it's your favorite story or your favorite aspect of a piece. You should remove that. I think the phrase is called, it's your little darlings when you're writing something. So what was that for this piece? Is there something that hit the floor that you want to give us right here?
I would say probably an hour and a half into my conversation with his brother Chase, I finally had to say, I'm just going to be clear, this story is not actually about you, because I could have done that. I mean, he's just a lot of fun. I mean, I know he looks like a character, but I just love that and I did squeeze this in there. He's like, I don't understand these people. He's like, I like football now. I enjoy it, but I can't understand these people that watch the game and they don't know somebody who's playing, And I'm thinking Roger Goodell must be happy that there is an audience out there that does not need to know the players personally to buy tickets or watch on TV, because that would hurt the revenue. So there was quite a bit about Chase. I would say his whole high school years, his views on religion. I mean, we got into a lot of stuff that was kind of too far off the spine of the story with Trevor Lawrence. But I do think having an older brother that was that different, and there was no sibling rivalry, and it's sort of the unspoken effect of that was that you're not going to think football is all that matters to anyone in the world, because you're living with someone, you're close to somebody who just has a moderate interest in it. And I think that did a lot for Trevor without anyone really trying to.
So his older brother has a moderate interest in football, is what you're saying?
He has a huge interest in his brother, and sure. I don't think that he will be watching games from 1 p.m. until midnight on Sundays. No
kidding. Well, let's not talk about him anymore.
I don't think he's going to take your job. I think you're safe.
No, it's all good. But that's an interesting profile. The hearts of Jacksonville and all the fans there in Duval County, Florida, are counting on him. And otherwise, without him, Urban Meyer is going to be talking college football on TV. This is the reason why Urban's coming out of retirement. Period. Did you talk to Urban a lot?
I did not talk to Urban for this, and I did imagine what he thought while he was reading these quotes, because I don't think Urban's the kind of guy that he asks a parking lot attendant, "Are you with us or against us?" So that's sort of how he views the world. But
right.
I kind of think Lawrence will actually be good for him, because this is somebody who's going to be a good kind of liaison between the head coach and the other pros, and as Urban makes this adjustment. And I think that'll be good. But, yeah, no doubt they got different personalities.
Appreciate the time, Michael. Great piece. Much appreciated. Lots of people talking about it. Great buzz 2 weeks right before the draft. I appreciate the call.
Thank you so much, Rich.
You got it. That's Michael Rosenberg, the author of the piece on Trevor Lawrence that's got a lot of people talking. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.